Stewart on the Burlington Northern Railroad. And tonight I'm going to do a little track work, so I thought I'd share it with you. First we'll flip the camera around. Here's Interbay. This is the Dravis Street overpass. And for some reason, that's the car repair shop there. And for some reason, this passenger train, which you might remember seeing in a short, is in the way. So the first thing we'll do is move that, which we should be able to do by simply plugging in a throttle. We don't even, whoops, oh, ouch. Doing a throttle with one hand is not a good idea. All right, let's try a different way. We'll press the horn button. That turns it on. And then we can select the Loco 3 and enter. And wait for that little light to come on, which sometimes takes longer than it should. So we'll try that again. Oh, there it is. No. I'll try again. Select 3, enter. That's more like it. Hear that? That's that locomotive there. It belongs to Dave Inger. All I'm trying to do is get it out of the way so that I can show you what I'm doing on the track work. This train does not belong here. It's a modern train, and I'm trying to model 1973. But model railroading is like that. Also, if you're astute about passenger trains, you know that that's not really the right consist. Picky, picky, picky. All right, now we'll stop this before it gets to the end of the yard. That's kind of cool. Not to mention the bell, which you probably can't hear because I have you plugged into the, okay, that's enough bell, enough noise. So I just wanted to show you what we're going to be doing for the next few minutes. This is the Interbay yard, and we're in the middle of relocating the engine track, which used to be over here, where we moved this track. See, this piece of track is loose. We moved it over here so we could build some sand towers here. And if you look at my blog, I have some pictures of what the sand towers are supposed to look like in here. But in order to do that, we had to tear out the turnout that was here, the switch. And so I rebuilt, it was an old Shinohara switch, and I rebuilt it. And also, since I believe in the principle that there is no such thing as too much track, it occurred to me that since we have to shift this track out in order to make room for the sand tower, we could put a switch in here, and then we could have a little track next to the sand towers for a sand car. And I happen to have a nice model of a Great Northern sand car here, which will be perfect for this service. I got from a friend of Ray Wheeler's, who actually kit bashed this many years ago. Cool car. And then the third thing I thought of, you know, you're all familiar with this latest car repair shed project. I realized that there's no place to put the maintenance of way equipment, that we need somewhere in the yard for that. So I thought we could put a turnout right in here, and I can carve this hillside down a little bit, and we can have another track here for maintenance of way equipment right next to the car repair shed. And that'll be cool. But I'm not going to do that tonight. But one of these days soon, we'll do a live stream where I'm cutting this hillside out with a saber saw and everything, and that'll be fun. So that's just the introduction. Now I'm going to take the camera over to the workbench and work on these 3 switches, which are right here. But actually, before I do that, just for fun, let's get this one train rolling, just so we occasionally get entertained by trains, because that's the whole point of this, right? So let's come over here and, oh, I forgot the number of that train. Sorry for all of this motion. I know it's kind of seasickness. That engine is 752. That's an NPF unit. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn this guy on. You see that? We're going to select, what did I say? Select loco. I got to get that light out of there. Select loco, 752, enter. There we go. You suppose it works? Oh, that sounds good. You probably can't hear that. You can just hear my voice because I've got my earbuds on. Here's the engine in question. You may remember that from earlier. Now we need the headlight on. There we go. And the bell. And we'll go ahead and pull out. You might remember this train, like I said, from a previous video. And we're just going to let this guy roll. Maybe I'll put him up to speed step 10. Uh-oh. I didn't flip this switch. Or this switch. There we go. Now what we're going to do here, that's the train. You'll see it again later from the tripod. It won't be quite so jerky. Now I have a really cool caboose on this train, which has a yellow coupler, which I noticed on the prototype. They painted their couplers yellow. Of course, the couplers got really banged up pretty quickly, but I thought that was a neat little approach. Now, since this train is coming out of the yard, we're going to have to reline the switch so that when it comes around the next time, it'll stay on the main. So I know it's a little slow, but you know, trains are slow. It's just something to get used to. There's maybe a bit of zen to the whole thing. I love that weathered gondola car. Some of these cars are weathered and some of them aren't. I had some fun making an oil spill on that SP tank car and putting some steel in that Milwaukee gun, sheet steel. But some of these cars could be weathered more. Anyway, there's our caboose. We'll see this train again later. I want to get to the workbench. I didn't want to spend the entire evening just horsing around, but I did want to show you that since that train left, we need to flip the switch back so that it's on the main track now. And we need to do the same thing over in Interbay because we pulled that passenger train forward. So let's go do that. And check to make sure that the switch is set the right way on the other end. For those of you that just joined, we're about to do some work on some old Shinohara switches, but I was just orienting you to the lay of the land here on the layout project. So as the train comes along the second main, which is here, it needs to flip over to the A track. See, that says A track there. The A track is the first track next to the main line, and that's the clear track because we have the passenger train on the second track. The odd thing about Interbay is that the main line was double track on both sides of it, but through Interbay it was just that one main track, which you can see there on the left. And so it makes things a little complicated for the dispatcher. I do apologize for the handheld video. I'm going to put this in a tripod now and get to work. I didn't mean to waste so much time, but hopefully you enjoyed it a little bit. Now, when that train comes by, I'll stop the action again and we'll watch it from this point. Now, these Shinohara turnouts I've been rebuilding so that they're DCC compatible, and you've probably seen other videos about this, but what that involves is a PC board tie as a throw rod where you can see there's a little gap there in the middle, and then you solder the rails together on the outside. Uh-oh, here comes our train. Nothing like distraction. Whoa! F units coming through Bayside Yard. Love it. Thanks, Richard. Welcome aboard. I could make this a little higher, couldn't I? Then we could see it better. So cool. This is the workbench area that we're at right now. And of course, the Bayside Yard is behind the workbench. I use these old Minute Maid lemon juice things for alcohol so I can find them easily because they're bright yellow. So they look kind of stupid in a train video. And like I said, my purpose here is to get some work done, but how can you get work done when you have a train like this going by? I mean, if we wanted to get carried away, we could pick up some other cars, but let's not do that and get back to work. I just want to show you how easy it is to rebuild these Shinohara switches. It just takes a little time is the only problem. Of course, it really takes time if you're just watching trains, which is what we seem to be doing here. What do you think would have been in that 60-foot boxcar? I'm thinking it would have been refrigerators from back east or something like that. In 1973. That was before the Rust Belt became the Rust Belt. So there was a lot of manufacturing going on and a lot of stuff being shipped out here to the Pacific. The rail fanning for the moment. All right, let's go back to the workbench. Now that train will come by again, so maybe we'll move to a better angle. So, like I was saying, I wonder if we have enough light. How about a little bit more light? One of the things that's, what I was just saying was we have a PC board tie. We have to connect these two rails and these two rails. We have to separate all of the hinged mechanism in there. And of course, it's easiest to do that underneath like this. And then we have to cut the frog to make a dead frog. And after you cut it with a cutoff disc, which is, you know what a cutoff disc is, right? It's I'll show you because it's right here. But it's a thin disc and a moto tool. So this guy spins around at high speed and cuts off the rail, making a nice little gap. So then you take a little 020 styrene strip and stick it in there and glue it with a little ACC glue. Let's see, what did I use for this one? I think I used this this medium gap filling glue to just glue these pieces of styrene down. Now the next thing you can do, once it's dried, I did this before dinner, so that was about 2 hours ago maybe. So then you can take the X-Acto knife, and this kind of work is why it's good to have lots of X-Acto blades around, because they don't last forever if you're cutting metal or cutting next to metal like this. But what I generally do is just come here with an X-Acto blade and try to get rid of some of the excess plastic. See, it holds pretty well with the, I should put my reading glasses on. I can see a little better. Can you see that all right? Got 12 people. 3 thumbs up, that's good. So this isn't going to take very long. I just wanted to show you that you put this glue, you glue these little styrene gaps. Well, the advantage of that is you know for sure that in the future these pieces of rail won't move over and touch each other and create a short, and then you spend 3 days trying to figure out why your railroad doesn't work. And this is just a preventive measure. This is one of those jobs, rebuilding turnouts, just a pain in the neck, but once you get started, you get into the flow of the project, and then you just want to finish it. I built a dual gauge, I hand laid a dual gauge crossing a couple years ago, and it took about 20 hours, which seems like a lot, seems like a big commitment. But when I started it, I really had no idea what I was doing, whether I could do it or not. And then, I just kind of got into it, kept working on it. Now, of course, you'll notice, I don't know if can you see? Yeah, you can see me all right. So I'm cutting both sides of the rail with this knife. All I'm really doing, being the lazy person that I am, is minimizing how much filing I have to do. And see that if you cut it off first with a knife, you get a bigger chunk if you go back and forth with a file. But, it's a matter of taste. There might be some reason you like filing better. I don't really care about this particular thing that much, but I have an X-Acto knife here, and so we'll just, I don't know why I'm working on a piece of paper towel either. That's kind of strange, but it wouldn't be the first strange thing I ever did. I think it was just there, so I thought, well, it'll at least collect dirt, which you can see it's doing. But it also could be a hazard because it's sort of slippery. I don't know if I really like this piece of paper towel being here or not. See what I mean? It's like, is this really helpful? I could always clean up I could always sweep this up later too. So what did we just do? We just filed, we just took off with the knife these little styrene strips. How's everybody doing? So I could take a file and make it even smoother, but we're getting into the weeds with this. But you could smooth it a little bit. But of course, the side you really want to smooth is the one that the wheel tread will be on, which in this case is the inner. You don't really have to worry about the outer. Now here, of course, it's on the outside of the frog. And I can always come back later and fix this. I think it'd be better to get on with the more interesting part of the project. And that is where we need to solder some connectors between the rails so that they'll conduct electricity to the adjacent track. Now, we only need to do that in 2 of these 3 switches. This is a Y, which Y turnout. Can you see that? And it goes to replace the one that was there, and there's already power on those tracks, so I'm going to put that aside. And we'll go to this turnout and we'll flip it over and figure out what we have to do. Because what we have to do is run a couple of feeder wires between the outside rail and the inside rail. No, but that would short it out, but between the two outside rails and the two inside rails. And I want to do that far enough away from the frog gap so I don't cause a problem with thermal issues, and far enough away from here. So right in the middle is probably right. So what I usually do is take one of these nippers and just nip out the plastic. Oh, you can't see from that angle. I nip out this plastic piece. You hear that click? To expose the bare underside. Then I come over here. Now, I could, see, I come over here, take that out. So what I want to do now is solder a wire between here and here. And of course, I've got this. I'm doing this just to improve the solder joint. Now, here there's still a piece of plastic webbing from the turnout mechanism. And rather than cut that off, which would make the whole turnout weaker, I'm going to just take my little square file here and make a V-groove in it so that it still has some strength to it, but the V-groove is big enough so the little wire will fit in there and make a nice flat turnout. So I'll turn on the soldering. Guess I should let you see that too. I'm going to turn on the soldering station, which is down here. Let that heat up. And while I'm doing that, we'll get some wire going. I have a bunch of old telephone wire, but you could use anything you want, I guess, for as long as it's thin wire. And I don't actually, this wire might even be thicker than it needs to be. It's probably 28 gauge solid copper. That's my guess. I'm going to cut this off because I want to start from scratch here. This is a little handy wire stripper that goes down to 30 gauge. I think this is 28 gauge. So what I do is make a piece of wire that's just the right length to go between these, and make a little bit of a gap here, and then I pull that insulator over without. See how I did that? I pulled the insulator over without pulling it all the way, and now I can cut this piece of wire off. But before I do that, I think we should tin it. So we've got a little bit of flux here. We don't really need flux to tin a piece of wire. That's a little silly. But we do need solder. So we take a little solder and a little soldering iron. You see that? And we're going to just put this in here. See if we can tin this guy. And I don't really want to melt the insulation on the wire too much because the whole idea is to keep it. Well, that's not working too well, is it? With my that usually works a little better. Let's try the other solder. Is this thing heated up? It says 670 degrees. That's pretty good. so let's try this again. We got a little piece of solder. Clean this guy off. I don't know why that is acting so weird. I think it's maybe because we're live. Normally I can tin a piece of wire a lot faster and easier than this. Next time we'll put a little flux on it. Maybe that'll help. Okay, you get the idea. So now, without cutting this, you see can you see it down on the, no, you can't see that too well. Here, how about that? So without cutting it, I'm just going to solder this guy right here. Oh, I forgot to put some solder on the rail. I like to pre-tin the rail too with a little solder. That way when you put the wire on it, you see around my big hand, it usually I put a little bit of flux on this rail. I don't know why I didn't do that today. That's kind of weird. Okay, you see how there's little balls of solder right there on the bottom of the rail? Okay, cool. Now we can take this guy here and stick him right down on this ball of solder, and bang, he is just in there for life. And see, I remember I filed this little V groove so he can fit right in there. And then this guy will just solder right down on here. And we now have the north or south rails connected. Or at least we will as soon as we get that ball of solder. There we go. Cool. So one down, 3 to go. So you get the idea. So now I'm going to take my little nipper and cut this off. But see, it was pretty handy not cutting it off until the very end, because I could hold on to the wire a lot easier that way. Now, of course, I'm going to paint this orange wire. It'd be nice if I was just using black wire, which, is a thought. Oh, that really is beautiful. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing again with the other 2 wires. Okay, I don't know what happened there. I didn't realize there was a reconnect button to push. Seizure of the stream. Thanks, CV. I think you're right. Anyway, meanwhile, while we were fussing around with that, our train came back. So let's go look at it from a different angle. I'm not suggesting that we enjoy rail fanning, but it's not like we hate it either, right? So here we go. The key is to not have it too. Now, can I make this? Yeah, there we go. We'll telephoto with what the modelers call skybox cars in the background that are going to the Boeing plant. Cool. Did you notice the headlight wasn't on? All right. Very nice. We're going by the Bayside station, which didn't really exist, but this is a model railroad. All right, well, I can't seem to get the focus good on this. You see that shake? I'm trying to get the focus up there, but it's not working. All right, so let's zoom back to our regular setting. There's that same tank car we talked about. Whoops. And we'll let the caboose go by again. We love the way this caboose looks. This is an old CB&Q caboose that got repainted in BN green. So cool. This is a jar of wire nuts. I just watched an NMRAX video last weekend that showed how you can use the nuts to represent the location of switchmen on the ground, ready to flip your switches. So that's a whole nother video we'll do later too. All right, we're still in business here, despite that last little glitch. I think the last time I did a stream, I had one of those. Yeah, that's true. It looks like a Pensy cupola. It's a really interesting looking, unique caboose. All right, where were we? I remember we were trying to get a relatively small thing accomplished, but it's very distracting when you have trains like that going by. I really don't know what to do about it. I guess I could turn the train off, but why would we do that? Okay, so remember we were just starting to get the other wire in, and we had decided to go on the outside in order to get away from frogs so we wouldn't have an accidental meltdown when we put the soldering iron to it. So once again, I'll come over to the far rail with my little nippers, get rid of that plastic web there, and take it out. It's nice having these flush cut nippers because you can get right up against something you want to cut and you don't have to deal with any kind of filing or anything. Just whip it out of there and take a little file and rough it up. And you remember I was saying I take the file at an angle to create a V groove in that middle web so that the wire will fit right in there nice and flush. And we'll file this a little bit, make sure that we have good connectivity here. And this time, I'm not going to screw around with outputting some flux on there. Got a little flux on a toothpick. Put a little flux there. That should be good. And we will now take our solder, put a little blob there. I wouldn't imagine. Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, we're pre-tinning the base of the rail. I love to do stuff on the base of the rail because after you have the track laid, nobody can see your wiring. It just works. All right, so now I think we're ready to cut another piece of this wire, just like we did before. You remember we took a little extra length of this 28 of insulation off so that we can measure it and then slide the insulation up the rail to have a perfect little piece of wire. And the hardest part is figuring out where to make the insulation cut, but I think it's right about there. And we'll just shove it. It's hard to keep from overdoing it. There we go. There we go. So now we can flip our switch around and we're going to pre-tin these wires again. And this time I'm going to use flux because I thought it was kind of ridiculous last time how much we had to horse around with that. I'm using this Radio Shack rosin soldering flux. I'm not sure if that's the best possible thing, but that's what I'm using. Have to ask Ted Becker about that sometime. Ted Becker's been doing a great series of YouTube videos on how to use Arduinos. He's a real electronics nut. All right, here we go. You ready? We're going to put this in here, and we're going to just let it heat that ball up, get the wire in there, and call it good. We're going to bend it in that little V groove, and we're going to come down here and do the same thing here. We want to do this as quickly as possible because we don't want to melt these ties, which is the biggest problem with soldering with plastic tie track. Of course, you knew that. So that was very nice. Now we can come around to the front, cut this off. And now we come to my favorite part of the whole deal, which is testing it. Because if it doesn't work now, it's certainly not going to work on the layout. So for testing it, we'll pull out our little voltmeter. I have one that looks like this, and we set it to ohms. And then we select open. And what that means, see, we're setting it to ohms and open. What that means is that if these two leads touch each other, you get a little beep. Now, I don't know if you can hear that beep because you've got me in the, maybe you can. I'll try to keep my mouth close to the short. Actually, it would be even better if you could see the readout, huh? There we go. You can see the readout. So if I short it, see it says short. What the heck? A bunch of blue tape down here sticking up on the leads. All right. So, you with me? Now we're going to test this guy. And we're going to test we're going to make sure that this whole thing works the way it's supposed to. So I'm putting the one lead on the outside track, and it should go all the way to the other side. It does. Very nice. Now it also should come up here, and it should come over here, and it does. It should not come here, which it doesn't, or here, which it doesn't, or here. Excellent. Okay, now we'll do the same thing with the other rail. Put it over here, and we should connect to here and to here. Excellent. And it should not connect to there. It should not connect to there or there. So it appears that we've got it done right. Solder joints are good. The gaps are all good. And this piece of, this switch is ready to go. So I'll go, I think rather than do the other two, which would be awfully boring, even though I'm going to have to do it myself, I'm just going to do the same thing we just did. I think I'll take the camera over and show you where this is going to go and what my plans are, and then we'll call it a day. So let's go over to the other side of the basement. Again, this 30-foot long wall here, and we're building sand towers for the engine terminal on the other side. Sadly, you can see that I don't have room for the roundhouse. And of course, Interbay engine terminal had a wonderful roundhouse. But sometimes you just have to make compromises. So we're going to pull this up as far as we can go, and I'll show you, whoops, sorry, show you what we're going to do with this switch we just finished. I'm going to add a spur for a maintenance of way track. So we're just going to insert this. Now, my principle is never lay track, never ballast track unless it's before you plan to make modifications to that track. Because you can see what I need to do now. I have to get rid of this ballast, cut gaps in these rails, remove this track and insert this in there. Because when I was originally laying this track, I didn't realize I wanted to put a maintenance of way spur in here. So that's the way it goes. And like I said, we'll do that on a different day. I'm just happy to be getting these turnouts ready to go. So, and then of course, I'm going to do the exact same thing over here. And if you want to just wait a second, I'll bring that turnout over and we can look and see how it looks in here. I'll let you gaze at this lovely yard with downtown Seattle in the background while I go get the turnout. I'll be right back. So here's the other turnout, which we haven't finished rewiring on the bottom, but that's going to go right over here. You can see this piece of track is loose. I'm going to put this turnout in here, and then let's move this locomotive. That's a little dangerous. It's one of the cooler looking locomotives on this layout. In fact, you can see that it's numbered 1997, which is the BN number of an old Northern Pacific locomotive. So this shows that I'm really modeling 1973. I don't know why that was so hard to put on the track, but anyway, see, this turnout's going to go right here, and I'll have this little ground throw to throw it with, and then we can move this track down and connect it up here, and then we'll be able to have another short piece of track for the sand car. See, that's going to go in like this. So we'll have this little track here for the sand car, and then we'll be able to get sand to the sanding towers, which I'll hopefully be able to show you in the next few weeks as we get them built. So that's kind of the plan. And I'm not sure if there's any point in continuing, since you don't want to watch me do the same thing I just did before. Maybe I'll just go find that F unit and we'll watch it one more time and then we'll sign off. Where is that guy? It's a little smoother when I keep the camera in the tripod, don't you think? There's the train. Oh, good. So this is a nice place to watch the train. Right going through past this bridge. Just give me a second to set it up. Sorry about that. You know what I noticed that when we had that short problem way back in the beginning of this video, we forgot to turn the headlight back on. All right, we'll do that now. If we can find the throttle. I don't see the throttle anywhere. That's one thing that I find is when I'm showing people around in any way at all, I tend to forget where I put the throttle. Have you ever experienced that? There we go. Just too late. Well, there's nothing wrong with that scene other than I had the camera tilted. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's a good idea, CV, to use your iPhone as a throttle, and I've done that here too. The only thing is when you're using your iPhone to do a live stream with, you can't use it as a throttle at the same time. But we'll see what happens. All right, there goes that gorgeous caboose again. So I think we can probably go to the other end. I don't know about you, but I'm going to watch this on the other end of the layout too before we stop recording. Let's see, where are we? See, there's the workbench where we just were. And this is a good theory, is put your workbench right in the middle of the layout so you can enjoy your trains while you're uh, doing real work. See, there's the engines. Whoops, sorry, I hit the tripod on that one. So one of my favorite views is just looking at a train coming right at you. Oh, this is nice. Except for the jerkiness of the tripod, sorry. All right, let's do this. I don't, there we go. Oh, yes. I don't power frogs. Oh, yes, I do. The old Shinohara I power with frog juicers generally. Oh, sweet. We'll have to do a live stream sometime and just railfan. I get so involved with trying to get the work done. This is a good view. Anyway, I've got a lot of dead frogs that are just short, but all the old Shinohara turnouts, I've pretty much put frog juicers on, which are, if you don't know what that is, it's a circuit from Tam Valley that's detects a short and flips the circuit around so that your frog is always doing the right thing. Now, in Interbay, when we started this project of putting in the sand towers, before we did that, we ballasted the track, and when we ballasted the track, that caused the old Shinoharas to not conduct as well, and it caused me to realize that I didn't have frog juicers in my engine terminal. So, well, I'm glad to have some BN fans here tonight. It's been great having you. Oh, yes. Oh, that is one caboose. 10444. Yeah. Okay, we'll take. Now, what are we going to do? How can we stop this now? I'm sorry. We got to take another angle on this. It's too much. A train going away from you is almost as good as a train going towards you. So let's try that. Oh, yes. Okay, here comes the caboose again. We'll just watch it disappear. Why not? Why not? The mountains in the background. Welcome to the Pacific Northwest if you live somewhere else. Oh, yeah. See, now the engines are coming around towards Mukilteo. We just left Bayside in Everett and we're heading south towards Seattle. Theoretically, I have better videos of this on my YouTube channel, but I'm liking this right now. I'll try to blow this up just a little bit. How's that? There's the train blasting through Mukilteo. Yep. Very nice. Oh, now we can have it coming towards us at Golden Gardens and Carkeek Park. We'll just skip the Mukilteo area for this particular thing. How about that? Should we do this? Oh, good. Well, 5 minutes in the Northeast Corridor is not a bad place to rail fan either. Sorry about all the setup here. All right. So here we are with our F units. Now, should we look down the track again? Maybe. I don't want to make you all nauseous. but I think that's the thing we should do. Yeah, yeah, I think so. This is live stream. Doesn't have to be a perfect video. What the heck? I'll tip it up a little bit. You can see the mountain scenery. Yeah, sure, why not? I'm sorry you can't really hear the sound effects of the engine because I have my wireless earbuds on so I can talk to you and you can hear me talk, but that's a shame. I'm getting a much better audio than you are. Yeah, yeah, I'll say. Nice little train here. I guess we could swing around and go through bridge number 4, Ballard. I had a lot of fun weathering all these cement hoppers back in the day. Oh, good. I'm glad you can hear it okay. I was a little nervous about that. I've got to stand in for the Ballard train station here in Ballard, Washington. This would be this here would be Seaview Avenue. And we're practically at eye level here, like we were standing there. Oh no, are we going to have to move over to watch it come through Interbay? How can we not, right? Okay. Oh, that was a little bit of a telephoto angle that I had on there. I forgot about that. So this is the Emerson Street overpass. The engine's coming right through there. Seems to me we should have Bell and a little slower in the yard. This is the car repair shed on the right. I just discovered the other day from a satellite photo that back wall is supposed to be open. So, oh, why did that stop? That's interesting. I think there's one more turnout that needs a frog juicer in this complex. That's what happened. At the moment, this car repair shed is removable, so we can take advantage of that. In order to watch our train disappear. The paving is made with a flexible material. I used to call it PVC, but it's not PVC, but it's a really nice craft foam is what they call it in a craft store. And I'm not sure which retaining wall you were talking about, but if it was the one underneath the water tank, Dave Anger just did that um, by scribing some styrene. I'll show you that in a second as soon as the train's gone. All right, I'm going to speed the train up again. Yeah, I don't have any objection to any of the freight cars in this train. I like them all. And there's a lot more where those came from too, so we can have future um, dates like this and play with trains. Okay, so remember I was telling you the sand car is going to go here? That's cool. That's just a mock-up right now. If this is the retaining wall you're talking about, this is something that Dave Enger just made. I agree with you. It just turned out great. It's just scribed styrene and, a little bit of an India wash. We're building this is the what used to be the Time Oil loading facility in Interbay. Well, our train's gone, and I think I'll call it good there. I hope you all enjoyed this, and it'll be on the channel to watch in the future. You want to share it with your friends, and we'll see you later on another one of our streams or our YouTube videos. So for now, this is Burr Stewart wishing you great fun with trains, and thank you all for being here. Goodbye. You're welcome.